Hey everybody, this is Joe from the Fireball Project, and well, you caught me in the middle of a little sanding, but what I wanted to do is kind of recap what we did this week, and I'm really pumped up because we got a lot done this week, and we're getting closer to completion. Might as well start here because we're standing right next to them. These are the cabinets. These go over the wheel wells, and as the faces show you, this is where the storage comes in. They're in a white primer, that 123 primer that I rave about. I still got to do a little bit of, obviously, some final paint, and maybe just a little bit more woodwork, but for the most part these are ready to drop in. Most of them will maintain a white look, and then there's a front portion as you still walk in where we're going to make that paneling. So these get dropped in, but this is where all the effort was made this past week. It was on the exterior of our Fireball. We literally were able to get off all the paint, and we realized that the more of the paint that came off, the more appealing it appeared. If it weren't for the larger dents that are on the upper portion of the trailer, I'm still compelled to try to leave as much as I possibly can, this original aluminum. For certain, we're going to keep the center as we talked about. What we do with the tops and the bottoms and the overall hood, that's still what we've got to figure out. We made some big progress on the inside of the trailer while we were working on the outside trailer. As you know, he's our carpenter guy, and it's tough to get him here on a consistent basis, but he worked us in, and we were able to get Fred's work focusing in on the floor. So we cut out a piece of plywood. In fact, this is about all we have left of it. We got a huge sheet of 1/2-inch plywood, and we had to use 1/2-inch plywood because that was the size of the plywood that was in there originally. We had one big sheet, and Fred was able to cut it into a one-piece drop-in, like a T. The frame was ready, the frame was leveled, and before we dropped in the floor, we had a nice 1/thick-inch bead of that liquid nails, and that went all around the interior before the floor dropped in. And Fred got in here and he dropped that floor in there, and it fell in just like a glove. Fell right in. He then went in and screwed it with wood screws all along the perimeter, and this floor is now set for us so that we can kind of finish things up. And what does finishing things up mean? Paneling. What we're going to do is we're going to panel the back portion as well as the two sides, the lower sides, and then, as I talked about before, that cabinet that covers the wheel well, there's a big face here, like a 2 or 3 foot, yeah, maybe 2 foot by 2 foot. We're going to keep the paneling there, and then as you walk in to the Fireball, there's like an L shape that drops down towards the front. That too will be paneling. So within the Fireball, it'll be white with paneling, maybe like 25% of it. So that'll give it that old feel from back in the 50s and the 60s, which is something I didn't want to totally abandon. As I was tending to the outside, we'll call these side markers casualties of paint removal. So I've got to replace the 2 red ones as well as the 2 yellow ones on both sides. I saw the folks over at Vintage Trailer Supply had some that were on back order, but I've got to replace those too. Inside. Okay, so inside we've got the floor in, we've got everything primed. Everything's primed, which is really exciting. I went out today and I purchased the paint. This is EverShield exterior with an eggshell paint exterior. The reason why I used exterior is that exterior out here in California, it's tough to get all the paint that's available in the other 50 states. We needed something that was mildew resistant for the insides because of the fact that we're going from damp to hot, damp to cold. So I was recommended by the experts over at Dunn Edwards to use the exterior paint, which contained a lot of those polyurethanes and a lot of those protectants to combat mildew. So I got this. I'm going to roll it. I went and got a cheap drop cloth for $1.99. I bought a couple of these rollers for $1.99. For the little jobs, you've got to use these little small ones. And don't forget, you're always going to need I got a 2.5-inch. If you can get one that's maybe half that size too, you're pretty covered. And then gloves. Don't forget the gloves. You know, they're like $3. It's like 12 of them in there. And because you never know, get the other cheap gloves. I've been trying those crummy ones for $1.99, trying the small ones for $2.99. These were $4.99. These are really good because you can use these forever. So anyways, I've got the paint and I'm ready to do some painting because as you know, my primer's already on. But before I'm able to get to the painting, what I've got to do is I've got to tend to my rookie mistake. Haha. When I first got the trailer, one of the things I wanted to immediately do is to sand and varnish this top bunk. And that's exactly what I did. And like an idiot, I got too excited and I should not have done that, because while I started to do the priming and while I had to get up and around here, all I did was scratch it up and get paint on it. So right now, all I'm doing is sanding off the 2 days worth of stain and clear. And so it's a lesson learned and hopefully one that you can learn. But right now I'm going to take this down. This is an 80 grit. And I'm going to take it down to its bare wood with the 80 grit, and then I'll graduate to like a 180 grit. So this will be all clear, and I think I'm just going to polyurethane it. At least that's what I'm thinking now. So I'm going to get this down to bare wood, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start rolling. I'm going to start rolling real paint, at least the first coats. So everything you see here that's white now will be white paint. Where you see the aluminum, both on the back and then the side, see the aluminum here, and we still have yet to cut this wall. All this will be plywood, and it'll have that that exterior panel look. Hey, a few things really quick. Don't throw anything out. Don't throw out any wood, any little trim. Don't throw out the old broken faucet. As tempting as it is, do not throw out the old jack. Don't throw out the old wood. You'll need it. You need to check for sizing sometimes. Sometimes there's a little part that you may need. So as tempting as it is to throw it out, don't do it. Not until you're completely done, because you may need it. Start somewhere. Throw it off to the side. Okay, inside. Speaking of inside, you know, last night we let the idle time work to our advantage. We C-clamped the blue table topping to its base. And not only was that popping off, but also there's a layer of wood between the thick foundation as well as the top part, and that was coming up. So what we did is we got the liquid nails and we gave it a nice little healthy dose around the sides, and we got a couple pieces of wood and we C-clamped the wood overnight. As you can tell, we don't have any more problems. Not only have we been able to solidify the top to the wood, but we're able to marry both the lower and the upper portion of the wood here. Our next step is to replace this original yet broken leg. The mechanism is broken here, and as a result the table just wants to flip out either way. There's not much of stability as a result. So I bought this from Vintage Trailer Supply, which is they offer a really nice selection, pretty good pricing, and delivery wasn't that bad. So the only thing I have to do now is I have to measure this original leg and then cut the base of this, which is a little bit longer. This is a universal product, so you can cut it. And I may need to take like a 1/4 of an inch off and then just put this little boot back on. And we'll have the new mechanism, which will allow it to snap in place and stay in place. That's the next step. So that I'll work on in between. This is like a nice thing to do at night, inside your garage. Not dirty, not messy, easy breezy. This, we talked about earlier, but we'll cover it again. I took it off the, this is the hood for the stove. A few screws. You pull it out, and we're going to clean this up. And then we're going to sand it with like a 180 or maybe even a 220 or something, just to scuff it out. It's metal, so if there's a little dent or two, we can pound them out. We're going to hit it with a little primer, and we're going to hit it with a little paint. And more than likely this thing will be painted the same color white, but just this little change will make a big difference. So with our indoor projects, we got our hood for the oven, we've got our table, which is to repair the top laminate, the wood, and the leg. And we've got a few other little items here that are ready for install. Okay, here's our hand pump. I showed you the broken one. Here's our hand pump to replace this one. We got this online, made by Valdera. This is the replacement jack stand. Not only the actual mechanism, but the rolling wheel. And I got the optional plate, so you have a choice. I suggest you get both. I thought I could pull out some of the dents on the exterior, and Bondo makes, for $10, it's a suction cup dent puller. You literally put it on the surface, and you squeeze it and pull. Well, great concept for a flat surface. The exterior of my trailer is ribbed. It's not going to work. But for $10, I'm keeping it. The rest of it is, you know, you can, if you buy these aluminum brazing rods and you use a butane, you can do minor repairs. And there's a couple little spots that we're going to try to use these brazing rods on. It'll be my first attempt, so I'm going to let Fred guide me. So we've got a few things here. We're going to be able to keep the momentum going, I guess. So we can get a March build date completed. End of this month, at least get ready for paint by the end of this month. That's the goal. And if we're lucky, our little fireball project will look as shiny as our anxiously awaited mailbox. We're going to put this outside the fireball. You can bring gifts to us. If it's beer, money, anything. Your way of saying thank you. Okay. That's all we got, folks. That's all we got for today. And we're going to have rain. It's going to rain here in a few days. So what I'm going to try to do is get one coat of the new interior paint on before it rains. And if it doesn't rain, it's California, there's a good chance it may not. We'll be out there tomorrow. And we hope you'll be there catching all the action. Thanks for watching.